Thank you for being on this and participating.
Thank you for this amazing bottle of red. This is absolutely perfect for me. So thank you.
You are very welcome. I'm just super excited to be talking to you today. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, but even before we started recording, we kind of touched on this. So this topic is near and dear to my heart, and I've been on a journey myself over the last few years in terms of getting debt free and just understanding and learning more about investing in general, and then this whole new crypto like whatever people want to call it that's going on out there. There's just so much about the finances and investing that I never knew. I was never really taught. And I know this is something that you've posted about. So I'd love to just hear about how you came to get on that journey, like what started you on that journey. And why do you think investing in finances in that sense, like investing in this, like, I want to categorize, I think there's a lot of women that actually think we have to take care of our finances, right? We have to pay the bills, but we don't know a lot about investing. Why do you think that is?
First of all, I love this conversation and I love sharing and talking about it. And I am obsessed with learning about investing. So first of all, what's marketed to women is to invest in our beauty and our wardrobe, right? That's what's marketed to us. So everything that comes to the word investment, if we were to do a Google search around women in investment, most of the content would be about investing in your wardrobe, investing in your hair, your haircut, your hair color, investing in your face. You know, do you need Botox? Do you need this? Do you need this? Everything is geared towards our image because society still has this box for us that we're supposed to marry well. And a man is supposed to plan for retirement and plan for our future and plan for the money we have, you know, at a later stage of life. Now, if you type in investment for men, there's a ton of articles, there's a ton of research, there's all this information. Even if you pick up a financial magazine, most of the articles, most of the content, most of the ads is geared towards men because society still, American society still has this lens that men are good with money and women like to spend money on things. And so I realized that some of that bias I had taken in and was carrying. And so I made a choice when the pandemic hit last year to change my financial life and to change how I was living. And I make a pretty decent salary. No one would consider me poor if they just saw my salary, you know, but I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I just thought, wow, I make this much, but I'm spending on clothes and makeup and hair and going out to happy hour and, you know, going to meet a girlfriend for drinks and going to this show and going to that show. And when coronavirus happened, I was sitting at home when we were all on lockdown and I would get paid. And I thought, wow, look at all that money that's sitting in my bank account. And that's when it hit me how much money I was wasting. And that was my wake-up call to change my life.
Wow, that's so powerful. It's so true too. You said something that I have to key on, which is the beliefs that we buy into, like the beliefs that we've been taught or we bought into that aren't true. They're really not beliefs. They're myths. They're inaccurate information that we took in as facts because someone told us. Right. And so investing, I think, is definitely a key one. And understanding that we do all this planning for households, right? We manage households, we do all of this, and then for some reason we bought into the lie that we can't understand investing or in stocks and bonds and ETFs and all of this other stuff. So I find that so interesting.
It is a lie, right? It's an absolute lie. So, but we have invested in it. And some of the work I've done over the past year and a half has been on some of the intergenerational stuff, especially as women, the stuff that got passed down from our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. And this is not to disparage anyone, but many of them were in survival mode. And so because they were in survival mode, they couldn't get to thrive. And to your point, what millennials and Gen Z, what I envy and love about them is that they're focused on thrive. And we were taught to be in that survival space. So you go to work, you sit there for 40, 50 years, you don't rock the boat, you don't say anything. You're just so thankful to have a job that you don't even think about it. And then hopefully at 65, you've got a little bit of money and your house is paid off and quote unquote, ta-da, you've achieved the American dream. And that was true 50 years ago, but it's not true today.
No, it's not. And I think in watching my internal reaction to millennials and seeing my daughter and seeing people say, I want to work and I want it to have meaning and this purpose and all of this. And the first time that those phrases of, being purpose, like having purpose in terms of like the work, like your actual work, I remember thinking like, they're going to grow up and realize, right? Like, that's not how it is. Like, because that's the lie that I believed, that the work was just survival. It was, I have to do this. And there really wasn't, there were only certain people, and it was an upper echelon of people that got the choice to live a life of impact. So either it was like this upper echelon, or you worked in a nonprofit and you like ate beans and rice every day. Like there was no in between. Like there couldn't be just this idea that I could really have purposeful work and make an impact and still make a good living and be financially stable. It just, that did not exist in my mind. And I had to check myself when I started to have that reaction. Why do you believe that? And then realize you've been believing a lie. You've been believing a lie this whole time. And that there's a little like earth shaking that happens when you realize you've been believing a lie for so long. Speaking of living a lie and kind of meeting expectations that society has for us, you mentioned something that I definitely felt when I entered my career in corporate America, which was just go to work, play your role, be very grateful you have a job, and speaking up when you saw something that wasn't right. I know, I'll speak for myself, I had a really hard time doing that. And in fact, early in my career, I didn't. Like, I turned a blind eye to a lot of stuff that wasn't right, that was going on, just because I was scared. There was like, I'm just here to do a job. And so I definitely felt silence and I didn't have a voice. I'm wondering from you, can you tell me a time where you felt silenced, where you didn't have a voice?
All the time. And I shared my story 5 years ago about that. Right after the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out, I ended up sharing my story. And it was the first, I had to call my dad first because I had never told anyone in my family what had happened. I told my mom when it happened earlier in my career. And like you, and like I said, there's some generational stuff that gets passed down. And same thing, go to college, you can get a degree where you can get a job, where you can work and retire at 65. And you have achieved the American dream. That's what was drilled into me as a young person. And so I came out of undergrad and got this great job on Wall Street at this big investment bank that was a household name. And, early in my career, sexual harassment, all that stuff was normal, all kind of inappropriate, stereotypical, racial, you name it, sexist, everything was said every single day. And the attitude was, you just deal with it. It's like being bullied as a child. It's just like, oh, well, if we're going to call you this, we're going to call you this. Who cares, right? And so we were all taught not to do anything. And I definitely regret that I didn't have a voice and I didn't feel that I could speak up. And I didn't think there was anyone that I could share my story with. And so I was really fortunate that I guess it was 2016, 2017, I was given the opportunity to tell my story. And that for me was healing and cathartic because I could go back the 25 years to my 23-year-old self and forgive myself for not stepping forward and for not feeling seen.
Yeah, forgiving ourselves is so hard. Like, it's like I can forgive someone else, but we should have known better somehow, even though we weren't taught that. And again, I think you said it, like, not trying to disparage anyone. It was a generational passing down of playing the role that you're supposed to play. But we have a really hard time. In fact, there's a statistic, and I'll have to put it in the video description so people can go find the resource because I don't remember off the top of my head. But it was women are nearly twice as often develop social anxiety disorder as compared to men. And when I read that statistic, I said, I totally understand. I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but part of it is trying to play a role that we're told that we're supposed to play, but it goes against how we're feeling inside. And so this anxiety builds up, and there is so much of that. I want to ask you, let me see how I want to phrase this. In your career, what was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome?
Oh, wow. There have been a few. And I'm really fortunate. I feel like I got trained in some of the greatest companies. And I have to be honest, in 2002, I was working for America Online and I left to start my own firm. And no question, that was the biggest obstacle because I had worked in these Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies where, you pick up the phone and you say, hey, it's Karen calling from such and such, and people answer. And then that transition from, hey, it's Karen calling from Altson Marketing Group, and it's like, click, like, I don't know who you are, and who the hell is that? So that was a huge shock for me. And, when you go out to work for yourself, there's no perks, there's no 401k, there's no bonus structure, there's no mileage reimbursement, there's none of those things. And so my first year in business, I love sharing this story. My first year in business in 2003, I think my revenue was like $36,000. And, just understanding that if you want to succeed, you've got to go out and sell and make money. And so that definitely was the biggest hurdle I've had to overcome. And I'm so proud I grew that business to $1 million in 5 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was definitely my biggest hurdle. But, I've worked for some cults and some great corporations and some great bosses. And I've learned a lot about people and personalities and management styles. I've seen the best, I've seen the craziest, and it's just been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to what's next. But, it's just, if you work in corporate and being a woman, think about the time too. I came out of undergrad in 93. So women were really moving into middle management and into the executive realms in the 90s. And so, sort of being a trailblazer in those places and spaces of moving up the corporate ladder And I know so many women who were the first. I have mentors who were the first VP or the first SVP, and watching their struggles and then still trying to navigate my own. So it's a lot of war stories, but
so true. I remember, I too worked.
I'm still sipping, by the way.
Yeah, please. I worked for some large corporations, and I was very fortunate I was thinking about this as just thinking about our conversation today, and thinking about how fortunate I was that I had a lot of women mentors around me. And I definitely believe that it's one of the things that helped me really be successful is that I had these women trailblazers that, working for Sprint, working for some of these companies, and they were, the first of their kind in these management positions. And they really kind of took me under their wing. I was this immature, just starting out in my career, and it would have been easy to just turn a blind eye and throw me to the wolves, but they really took me under their wing, and I feel very blessed and very fortunate of that, because I've just had that kind of consistency in my career, and it's been really, it has really helped me. And I know that not everyone has had that, and so I feel very fortunate that I had those women in my life, and I don't take for granted the impact that they had on me. So one of the key reasons why I'm doing this interview and interviewing people and putting this content together is talking about confidence. Mm-hmm. So tell me, when do you feel the most confident?
Oh, wow. When I'm in flow, no question. When I'm in flow, when I'm in a creative space and I'm talking about a subject matter that I know and I'm passionate about, once I hit that level of flow, I'm almost invincible. You see yourself above the clouds, and it's just coming out. So once I hit that space, I'm there. Confidence is something I've had to work on over the past decade. And because one of the things you do is I try to break out of all boxes and all labels. And so in that process of learning to love myself, my confidence just increased in all areas of my life. So whether it's the outfit I put together for the day, or how I'm tackling a problem, or if I'm working on a project, just that knowledge of, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that gives me confidence. And so it's been a path and a journey, and maybe it's my age and my stage of life, but at this stage of life today, I can honestly say I'm the best version of myself I've ever been. And so that gives me incredible confidence.
That's amazing. I have been saying this for the last several years, that everyone talks about growing older, and there's this negative, sentiment towards it. And I got to be honest, the older I get, the better life is. Like, there's just something about, and I think there is a confidence to it. There's also this just learning. I love to learn, and I feel like every year I learn something new. And so that's really cool. But I feel like 39, 40 was like the launching off point. My life has only gotten better since then. And so I definitely want to debunk the myth that life goes downhill. Like, you're not over the hill. It doesn't go downhill. In fact, when I decided to leave corporate America and leave that side and start my own business, I at first felt like, okay, I have to keep doing what I've been doing. Like, if I step out, it has to be marketing related, because that's what I've been doing, right? And as I was going through the process, I really had this moment of reframing, which was I'm right in the middle of my career, my span of my career. And so being in the middle, I mean, I can do anything. Like I literally have the rest of my career like there's a huge chunk of my career left. I can continue to do what I've been doing, and that's great if I find impact and I can do it, and find purpose in it. But people feel locked in, like they've done something for 15 years and now I have to do it for the next 15 years. And I just realized how crazy that idea is.
Once again, something that gets passed down, right? So, you can be multifaceted, you can have multiple talents, you can be multidisciplinary, you can have all different types of passions and interests that you're good at. If you look at, one of the things I do is I study successful people, I study billionaires. Most of them have multiple businesses, right? They have multiple places in which they are doing the things they love. And sometimes those businesses aren't interdependent. They could be complete, they could have a liquor business and have look at Elon Musk. He's got tequila and he's got SpaceX and he's got Tesla, right? So all different types of businesses, but yet he's still making money. He's still being interdisciplinary. So it's that box that you have to break out of, where someone says, well, you've been doing marketing for X amount of years, so you're a marketer. But you're like, no, I'm a creative, I'm a content creator, I'm a film writer, I'm a screenwriter, I produce this, I do these things. And you can be just as talented in that as you are as being a marketer. So it's you defining your lane. And back to Gen Z and millennials, that's what they do really well, is they don't allow anyone to put them in a single box of you can only do this because that's what you've been doing for the past X amount of years.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so speaking of labels and boxes, we've talked about finances. We've talked about a couple of different ones. Tell me another label or box that you, actually, I'm going to frame it like this. Karen starting her own business in 2003, whenever you did that, tell me, what would you tell Karen now, the box that she believed then that she thought was so important, this label? She thought that this was a key, or a belief that she had that now is not, you've completely blown it up. What would you tell her?
I love this question, and there's a lot of boxes that I would have kicked open. If I could talk to myself in 2003, I would tell myself that I had all the talent, skills, everything I needed to be a successful entrepreneur. And the only thing holding me back was me and fear. So the box that I have been kicking for the past decade is facing my fears. And so in every aspect of my life, looking at, okay, what's the fear or the trauma around this issue that's holding you back? And I posted this on my social media the other day, and it was like, the only thing stopping you is you, right? And so it's the negative self-talk. It's what you talked about earlier, talking yourself out of the great idea. It's all the stuff of, oh, you can't do it, it's too crowded, everybody sells hamburgers, it's just constantly that negative self-talk that gets in the way of that flow, which is the great creative idea that you're ideating. So I would tell myself that my fear of failure is what was holding me back. So that first year when I made $36,000, it was because I was scared to pick up the phone and tell people I had a business and I was looking for opportunity and looking for things to do. And in 2004, when I got my first contract, and I love this story, it was a consulting contract, and the person said, well, how much do you bill per day? And I had never thought about the answer to that question. And at the moment, I was looking at bills that were past due, light bill, water bill, gas bill that was past due. And all I could think of, my answer in my mind was, well, how much do these bills add up to? And that will be what I bill per day. But something said to me, ask the question, well, what do you generally pay consultants? And this is in 2004. And the person on the other end of the phone said, oh, we pay $1,000 a day plus expenses. That blew me away. And that was my first contract, my first client. And I ended up working for them for 5 years, going all over the country, branding communities and small neighborhoods around the country, billing at $1,000 a day plus expenses. But had I not asked that question, I would have been perfectly fine to say, oh, I charge $250 a day, you know, because I didn't know. So
that is a great story. I love the idea of just asking the question back. Like, that is, if someone's watching this, that is a tip, like, ask questions back. I love that you had the awareness to go, wait a minute, before I say anything, let me give them an opportunity to give me information. And I think I'll say this, like, I think that's as a female, sometimes we don't want, or I'll speak for myself. I won't say for myself. There have been times in my past where I didn't ask the question because I was scared of looking like I didn't know. Right. And I've learned that those people around me, the guys never did that. Like, they ask questions. And I'm like, why am I scared to ask questions? And so it's definitely something that I have integrated in my everyday, conversations with clients. I'm constantly asking questions because I would rather prove my assumption right than speak out of turn and, not have seen the full picture. So I just think asking questions are so important. So I know we're kind of close on time. So I'll ask you one final question. I just want to be really mindful of your time and everything. Let's see. Oh, your favorite app.
Oh, that fluctuates. So I enjoy social media, and social media has been extremely beneficial to my career, even my speaking career. So it fluctuates. Right now, it's a tie between Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. It's a tie between the three. And then I have to put in a plug, since we talked about financial, Robinhood, because I'm trading. I'm constantly looking at the market and looking at stocks. And I think Robinhood has truly been impactful in building an app that's easy to use, user-friendly, and allows people to trade stocks and trade crypto. And it has changed my life, that's for sure. And I know people give Robinhood a lot of, but it has opened the door for so many people. My mom has a Robinhood account, right? It's just opened the door for so many people who never thought about the stock market and never thought about trading, never even thought about that world. And now it's just become a part of all of our lives. So, but yeah, social media, it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram for different reasons, different audiences.
Right.
And Robinhood is my favorite app because I love looking at and learning and, seeing how the stocks are moving. So.
Okay. All right. Well, no complaints here. We definitely have a Robinhood account. I would say financial services, we have started dipping our toe in the crypto world. So we definitely are big fans of Coinbase here. And we do have a Coinbase account and are playing in the world of crypto and trying to understand it, because I feel like being scared of something, we just talked about fear, being scared of something isn't a reason to avoid it. So I'm facing that fear of like the unknown, like what is crypto and what is it about? And I'm just kind of digging in and dipping my toes in because I want to understand it. There's something that is attractive about a decentralized banking system that has enough people backing it that there's millions of people talking about it and doing things. So I feel like it's something that I should at least understand, like try to understand. So we're definitely Coinbase fans here. Also, being in the Bay, fintech is so kind of big. And so we're trying to embrace that. Karen, thank you so much for your time today. I'm just so grateful.